and good morning. I got about 3 hours sleep. I've been awake for 2.5 hours, actually over 2.5 hours, and I've been out of bed for over an hour and a half. Spent almost an hour in the meditation room this morning. Anyway, today's title came to me yesterday, and I even announced it on Facebook last night that it would be today's title. It's entitled My Vision of New Paradigm Relationships. For a long time, I've had a vision of what I believe is possible in romantic relationships. I don't have all the answers, and I'm not sure of all the how-to steps. All I am able to share is my vision and tell the truth about what I've experienced when I have shared that vision with individuals with whom I thought I could bring that vision into manifestation. So far, every attempt has failed. Still, I haven't and won't give up. I'm firmly convinced that what I see is no idle dream. However, there are many challenges to be faced by those choosing to make the effort to go beyond old paradigm relationships. Much healing is required, since virtually everyone has been deeply wounded in our sexual equals spiritual nature. And this can have devastating effects that inevitably surface whenever two people decide to create a romantic relationship that heals and transforms each, both, and all involved. Let me share what I think, feel, and see happening. That's my blurb. 30 years ago, in 1983, I assembled a collection of poetry with some prose interspersed, which no one has actually ever read it because I've never produced it in a form that people could read, although some of the people involved saw much of what I had written because I shared it with them. The book was titled, or the collection was titled, The Prince and the Princess, Mystery of Destiny. In 1982, when my 14-year marriage finally ended, although not officially till March 1983, but it ended in the summer of 1982 in actuality, I also was very prolific, writing a lot of poetry and prose in a collection of books called I Am a Man. But since my marriage began falling apart back in the early 80s, I began to develop a vision of what is possible. That vision is 30 years plus in developing. I'm still gaining insights into what a new paradigm relationship looks like. Although, as I said in the blurb, I haven't created it yet. And also, as I said in the blurb, I'm firmly convinced that our sexual, spiritual nature is one. They equal each other. They cannot be divided. In fact, I think our drive as humans to relate with others is the drive, and it's a divine setup, okay? It's something our higher self, our soul set up for us to play with and experience and develop and uncover. And that drive is to unite in one couple, eros and agape. Two kinds of love. Passion and compassion. Sexual and spiritual. Few people have achieved it. And there are some dynamics involved that have prevented us from achieving it, most of us. There might be examples, although I'm not aware personally of any, but I'm sure there are people that think they've achieved it. A lot of relationships do not fire on all cylinders. I mean, I know of married couples that never have sex. So from what I've been told, and I know other relationships where the woman is very highly spiritual and the man could care less about that. That's not a healthy relationship. I'm sorry. It's not a healing relationship when the two people are not in agreement and moving toward a common goal, which is why the relationship fails to transform the lives of the people involved in it, as well as the lives of the people that they interact with in their social climate, in their social environment. There's no transformation because there's no power. There's no firing on all cylinders. And those are common old paradigm relationships. They don't fire on all cylinders. They're not connected, body, soul, and spirit. There's always a part of it missing. And if a part of it's missing, it's old paradigm. Because the new paradigm is about wholeness. It's about completion. It's about bringing together the body, the soul, the spirit, and all the fragmentations of our ego personality that lies in the unconscious. Carl Jung said that our job is to make the unconscious conscious. And what happens when two people decide they want to create a relationship, all of their unhealed issues in the wounded inner child or the pain body begin to surface and they start pushing each other's buttons. One will say something like, "Will you still love me if?" Okay? When the other person hears, "Will you still love me if?" they're hearing doubt. They're hearing the inner child's defense mechanism trying to protect itself from getting hurt again. And they're reading that as, even if it's not conscious, as he or she is not loving me. They're doubting their own love. They're unwilling. They're becoming unwilling and they're holding back. They're holding back part of themselves. They're not willing to jump in with 2 feet. Now, I've been told lots of times by a number of people over the course of my life that I tend to move too fast in relationships. And it's true, but it's not true. Because what I do, since I've been developing this vision, is I share my vision with the person that I'm wanting to create the relationship with. And I'm seeing them at that point as a divine partner. I'm not looking at the exteriors, although I am, because I am motivated by what I see. And I love beauty. Physical beauty as well as spiritual beauty. I love beauty. And I have preferences as to what beauty looks like for me. They are my preferences. I used to put myself down because I couldn't love everybody the same. And I do not want promiscuity. I do not want to be, polyamorous. I want a sexual partner. Now, one of the things I got this morning as I was meditating is about twin flames. Now, twin flames are two beings sharing a common soul. That's a definition that I've read. But what I was beginning to see, and maybe it's wrong, maybe it's right, I don't know, but what I was beginning to see, and what I think Spirit was trying to tell me, is that we're all twin flames. Every one of us is a twin flame because we all come from one common soul, the soul that we call divine. All of us. And so in a sense, every one of us can create a twin flame relationship with someone else. And that is a new paradigm relationship. But here's the dynamic that takes place. That wounded inner child is still there. That wounded inner child, we might refer to it as the ego. But I'm going to tell you it's the divine part of us as well. And you say, but Ron, the divine part can never. No, yes, it can. In creation, the divine part of us becomes a creature of itself. It becomes its own creature. And that creature, when separated from the consciousness, now it's in the unconscious, right? It's separated from the consciousness and it goes down and it experiences separation. And wounds always result from separation consciousness. I'm not good enough. Fear of rejection. All sorts of issues come up for which we develop defense mechanisms. Fight or flight. Now, in my personal experience, when I've encountered fire signs in a romantic relationship, their pattern is in your face fighting. Well, you want me to run really fast? I will run. Their fight produces my flight. And I've watched that in a number of relationships, not a whole lot, but in a number of relationships in my life, where as soon as that reared its head of the in your face yelling and screaming, which is what I'm doing right now, but in a controlled manner, sort of. I am out of there. I don't want to deal with things that way. That's not my style. It's not my preference in how to deal. I want to communicate. I want to talk about the issues that are coming up in a sensible, reasonable manner. And I've been able to do that for the most part with other air signs. That's an observation over the course of my life. I had a really beautiful relationship with a Gemini, my second wife, 9 years, and a really beautiful relationship with another one of my partners for over 2 years, going on 2.5 years, and she was an Aquarius. My most recent attempt is another Libra, such as I am. But the point that I'm making is that when we decide this, to create this kind of relationship, the way that Ron does it, and I'm realizing this is my masculine side. I used to be afraid of my own masculine side, or I didn't recognize it and know how to identify it as such. Because I'm feminine very much. Very much I'm on the feminine side. Which means I wait for a signal to respond to. In relationships, very rarely do I make the first move. Very rarely. I'm learning to do that, or at least most recently. It doesn't always work, but most recently, that's what I've been doing. Now, jumping too fast, I want to lay the cards on the table. I want to say, this is what I see as possible. I'd like you to help me create it. I don't know how to do it. You're going to have to teach me how to love you. And I'm going to have to teach you how to love me if you want to learn. And if she doesn't want to learn, then obviously she's not in the relationship. She's not committed to the vision. She's not committed to the common goal. And so any relationship that develops when there is no mutual commitment is useless. It will create an old paradigm relationship where everything is hidden beneath the surface and the unconscious is never made conscious, and there's no healing. And therefore there's no power. There's no power of real co-creation to create even worlds, to transform things in the physical world. The whole setup that we've been given by and I call it the divine setup, is we've been given this drive, this sexual drive to couple, to relate to someone else on a sexual level, which is the level of creation. It's the level of manifestation. We have this drive to connect that way, and yet we don't find fulfillment when we do connect because we don't take it deep enough. We put up walls and barriers so that we allow just enough connection to be comfortable, but not enough to be whole, not enough to help each other become the best they can be. And so that creates an old paradigm relationship that has no fire. It has no oomph, no power, no drive, no force of creation behind it. Even if you create a child through that kind of a relationship, which all of us are products of that kind of coupling, all you're creating is more wounded children, because the wounds in that prince and princess that lie beneath us is untouched and never reached. I want to close, and I've not even come close to exhausting this subject, and I don't know when I'll be doing other talks on it, but I probably will. But I want to close with this from the workshop, and then I'm going to comment on it briefly, and that'll be the end of today's talk. I'm in a shell that's in a box, that's in a bag, that's in a chest, that's in a trunk, that's in a cave, that's buried at the bottom of the sea. If you really loved me, you'd come find me. The bottom of the sea is the sea of our unconscious. And there are layers to getting through that. The shell, the box, the bag, the chest, the trunk, the cave. At the bottom of the sea lies the prince and lies the princess, which is the divine part of ourselves, which is also the wounded inner child, which is also the pain body. And if we really loved that part of ourselves, we would not stop short of going down there and giving it the love that it's crying out for and been crying out for all of our lives, which is the sexual attraction, which is the drive to connect and couple with others. We can change the world and ground the energy of transformation when we learn how to couple and create new paradigm relationships. It takes two people committed to a common vision, willing to work through the issues and to go layer by layer through all of the buttons being pushed until they discover that deep part within each of them is the one soul that connects us all and enables us to make a new world that works for everyone. I thank you for listening. It's gone a little bit longer than normal. I do love you, and I invite you to consider what I've shared. Thank you, and namaste. Thank you.